different.
Are you trying to make my frogs gay? Did you just call Alex Jones a hun? Oh my God, Alex, you just got destroyed.
Disney.
Oh no. You just got TTTT'd.
You were on my show like 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, I thought you're a really smart person.
You're my first interview ever.
So I was lucky you came on my
Besties.
show. Person. And so
Besties. What you did is cope so hard about guns, right? Cope so hard about a narrative that might be, you know, that might cause people to question our gun laws, right? You coped so hard about that that you ran smack dab into people's real lives, and those families pushed back. That is what happened, Alex. That is what happened, is your batshit grifting ran into reality. And, you know, the collision was rough. And, I mean, I'm not sorry for you at all.
When Trump started winning in 2016, they decided, well, he's been on Alex's show and said nice things about Alex. Your reputation is amazing. I will not.
Oh, wait. Trump got canceled for Alex Jones? Is that how it worked? Is that what people thought was yikes about Trump? Was the Alex? It was all about Alex.
We can demonize Jones and then demonize Trump with Jones. So they made me like the co-Trump or the brain of Trump, which I really wasn't.
Wait, I mean, that was Bannon.
I would say that, but I wasn't the brain of Trump. Barely.
That was Bannon.
I knew Trump. And so a lot of criticism of Trump. And so it became like a religious hatred of me. And then I got sued a year after Trump.
Good morning,
got into
Vamps.
office.
How are you doing?
Ongoing. And so just they deplatformed me over it. They did default judgments where we gave them all the discovery they wanted, everything. I mean, that's why they got all my financials, everything.
Okay. Does anybody know about this? I feel like there's more to this than he's going to say. He says there's a default judgment against him. He did everything that they asked for, and it wasn't enough. And they did this default judgment, right? And he describes this as like they find him guilty to begin with, and it's just the question of like the jury's going to decide how guilty you are, right? I don't think that's how it happened. I think he legit like did not provide some of the evidence or somehow, like, I mean, I don't know. It's got to be his lawyer though, right? Like that's giving him this bad advice, right? Because if you get a default, like I actually don't know about this, right? Does this exist? Default judgment in the United States? Does the US have that? If it does, I mean, it sounds like it's something for somebody who's just not cooperating, not just like, you know, we're just going to screw Alex Jones because we can.
They said, no, you didn't give us that. So you're defaulted. So you're guilty when it goes to trial, guilty until proven guilty. And a jury will decide in Connecticut and Texas, different lawsuits, same group, how guilty you are. And now I've been double defaulted with these trials coming up where I'm not even allowed to talk or have put on any evidence. I just sit there and I'm guilty. That's not American. That's never been done before in this country. And so that's what this is. So via...
I mean, whatever you're dealing with, it's like the result of like, I don't know. I don't buy that he's getting like treated like that. Like, you know what I mean? They're doing kangaroo court, but just to this one dude. They're just like breaking the normal legal procedure, breaking the law just to fuck with Alex Jones. I don't buy it.
Demonizing Alex Jones. We're not just getting rid of the Second Amendment. We're now getting rid of the First Amendment. And it's extremely dangerous. And so that's all because of Trump derangement syndrome. What happened earlier on.
Well, I think that people...
It's because of Trump derangement syndrome. Okay.
Sandy Hook scenario, the end all and be all of what.
And you're Trump's brain.
They think that's the thing that's going to take you out forever. And for me, I feel like you're not the whole...
Is he snoring? No, he's not. He's not asleep, is he?
For as long as
Did he fall asleep?
And talk about the amount
that sounded like a snore
about and crazy topics that everyone's confused about and not be wrong sometimes.
Well, exactly. I mean, here's an example. 2 years ago or whatever it was, we learned on Sunday that Jussie Smollett at 2:30 in the morning is out in 20 below, zero in Chicago, and two men come up and put a noose over his head, pour bleach on him, and say this is MAGA country, inward. And I thought, I'm going to get sued if I come on here and this isn't fake. And I said, I don't care. It's my opinion. I'm allowed to have it. I think this is fake.
And you were right about that.
And I was right about that. So 9 times out of 10, I've been right. Am I more careful now? Like
9 times out of 10, I'm right. Because Jussie Smollett.
When Trump was getting into office, somebody was attacking synagogues and attacking Jewish cemeteries. I hate anti-Semites, terrible. I said, I bet that's a leftist group to demonize Trump. Turned out it was. So my issue is...
I'm not going to start doing the real crime, the true crime shit here and analyzing his like body movements, but like, I don't know, that didn't sound like somebody that like was honest about like not liking anti-Semitism.
I usually think this might be staged. Gulf of Tonkin's got into Vietnam. The attacks on our ships.
It's like very difficult words to push out of his mouth right there.
In Iraq, they were lying knowingly. Didn't happen. False flag. So absolutely. But to focus in and put Alex Jones versus dead children, it's just not fair. It's not who I am. And I'm not living off that event. I never even say its name. It's the people, the lawyers and the Democratic Party around it that have said, well, how do we stop a populist like Alex Jones? What do we do when he's so popular? Well, we just time to this and then just hammer that forever.
So he's attributing the events of a court trial put forward by the families of the victims that you said those kids didn't exist. You said that those families, they're a bunch of actors and shit. Dude, like that's fucking karma. What is that other than karma?
Later, and anything Alex Jones I've done, any big interview, anything, it's that. And so it's attached to me. I'm not attached to it.
Like, look, this flop sweat he's in is perfect. Like, this perfectly works, right? Now, I wouldn't usually like judge somebody by like their physical appearance and stuff like that. You know, life is tough. Stress is real, and you know, we all get enough flop sweat, some kind of flop sweat. Maybe we all get some flop sweat. Maybe. So it doesn't mean that you're lying if you're visibly distressed, but just like the way that, like, if you wanted to portray a fucking craven ass liar in a movie, this is how you do it. Just like this.
And my whole thing is, and people are gonna get mad at me for even taking this position.
Alex, who's the crisis actor? Who's the crisis actor, Alex? Is it you? Is it you? Because you're straight from central casting for like craven liar in a flop sweat trying to hide what he's done. That's what I'm reading.
Like, did Alex Jones fucking kill anyone?
Like, this is a little too on the nose, right?
It was wrong. Yes, you were wrong about a scenario. Does that mean that you have to roll over and die and be gone forever? I don't think that's fucking true.
Well, that's the thing. And before I got sued, because I barely talked about it, people were like, hey, please quit saying this didn't happen. People are harassing us. And I went, you know what? I think some of the anomalies were wrong. I was wrong. I think this happened. School shootings happen. They're terrible. And they were like, oh my God, you admit you lied to get famous, and now we're going to sue you. And it was that admission that I was wrong is when the whole avalanche of stuff began. So again, I didn't lie about WMDs in Iraq. I'm not smuggling kids across the border like the Biden administration has been caught doing. Senate report, said that Obama knowingly was allowing it to happen. I'm not committing those real known crimes. I didn't overthrow the Ukrainian government in 2014, which now led to the crisis we have today. And I'm against what Russia did, by the way. So yeah, I'm not a war criminal. I haven't bombed any third world countries. I didn't do sanctions that killed 500,000 kids. I have questioned big, hyped up events.
And the other thing is to be in America and to be constantly manipulated by the corporate press. It's to fall for every single thing. Jussie Smollett, you brought up. Kyle Rittenhouse. So many people were fooled by the media's representation of that story. Nick Sandman. It's just constant lie after lie.
Oh, they said he attacked.
Did he just look at her legs, or is that like in my imagination, chat? Is that going on in my head? Is that going on in real life?
Yeah, and he went and got in their face. Yeah, and it wasn't true. Nick Sandman.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden CNN has to pay out a bunch of fucking money, and it's like, I understand that you were wrong in this scenario. That's just simply wrong. You said something happened, and it didn't happen. But where is the sort of anger and hatred towards all these other outlets that get things wrong and have blood on their hands? I think of back to 2020 when I was watching LA burn and you're watching the Democratic Party bail out protesters and rioters and people killing people. You think of all the wrong that is done and allowed by the corporate press. And I think that it's, again, yes, you're wrong in the scenario, but you're a very, very, very convenient scapegoat.
Well, sure. And look, you have the left is not the left today. They're not liberals. On average, they're authoritarian.
Oh, this is going to be funny.
Agenda. And
so who does this sound like, chat? Does this sound familiar?
If they can divert off of all their known lies and all their known propaganda and all the things they've been caught.
Who's the real liberals?
Onto me.
The conservatives?
And one thing I questioned that I later said, okay.
Sounds like Twitch politics to me.
It's just a total diversion from the real world.
Yeah. It's also, you know, the easiest way to erase someone from society, which they've tried to do to you. It's not working. You have a huge audience. You have a huge support base. And InfoWars is obviously something that it's insular in the sense that InfoWars fans are InfoWars fans. And maybe you have a harder time reaching larger audiences. I thought you said that earlier. It was like, you know, it's hard to branch out because you have that insular base. But at the same time, the easiest way to erase you is to smear you as some sort of immoral, evil person. But for me, I grew up watching you. I grew up watching InfoWars. And at a very young age, I knew to take certain things for a grain of salt. I didn't see you as the Messiah. I didn't see you as God. I didn't see you as right all of the time. But I took a lot of what you said and, you know, I made my own opinions about it, which is what you're supposed to do. And I never saw you as partisan.
Well, I was never trying to be partisan, and I'm flattered you've been a listener and viewer for a long time. But, I mean, that's really what it comes down to. They didn't know how to deal with a populist who was popular, and so they just made me the SH guy. And so for me, it's like Groundhog Day. I mean,
he's like afraid to say the name of the school.
And that's just all I hear constantly, and it becomes a distraction. So they call you a racist.
I mean, he does look distracted.
Conspiracy theorist.
Don't feel bad for him, though. I do not feel bad for him.
In your life and focus on it to where instead of covering, and I'm glad we're able to respond to this. Thanks for the chance. But instead of being able to respond to all the huge things like human clones they admit are happening, or fentanyl causing thousands of deaths a day, or impending, you know, energy collapse and food collapse. We're talking about Alex Jones questioned something. He's a terrible person. He deserves to be silenced. And once you agree to that, you agree to everybody being silenced.
Well, let's get into a couple of specifics because the headline this week.
Okay, so I feel like the character Justine from the ContraPoints video would have something to say to Alex Jones. I mean, like, you're not exactly being silent. You're on a podcast of a YouTuber that's got like over 1 million, right? Over 1 million subs. You're not being silenced. You're not being silenced.
InfoWars.
And you know how I know?
I think
because I can hear you talk.
There's some dispute over that, if that's true or not. What's the real story behind that, and how much of it was BS this week? Absolutely.
I mean, look, the filings are there and speak for themselves. And again, the corporate media is trying to lie on purpose. They're not trying to find the truth. The last straw, I was thinking about doing this years ago, filing limited Chapter 11, which is a reorganization. And it means that when you've got creditors, and I've been defaulted in these cases without a jury trial, found guilty by judges, and they're claiming in the news and the lawyers on the other side that I have hundreds of millions of dollars. They made us give them all our books. They made us give them all this stuff and then claim we gave them nothing. And then they know what they're doing. They'll look at 3 years where I mainly fund my operation buying our own products and selling it. Storable food, shortwave radios, body
storable
armor,
food, all this
gear,
all that shit that you ripped people off by making them think that the end of the world was coming and Obama was gonna be shining a flashlight up their butt, right? All that stuff, all that money that you stole from people with those useless products,
supplements, books, films,
the male vitality with the lead in it.
That stuff cost me 30-40% the cost I sell it from.
The bone broth
so
drink. What the fuck was up with that bone broth drink?
$60 million in 3 years going out. He has that in a secret bank account. Well, they know where that went to vendors. They just say that because it's plausible, like they've made a mistake on the news. And it's not like it's bad that I make money, but they're like, he's got all this money and he made it off SH. He needs to give it to us so they can try to do that. So I said, wait a minute. That's why there's checks and balances. I will go to a federal court. I will file bankruptcy. I will say, okay, I've been found in default. I've been found guilty with no trial. That's fine. You're supposed to pay no more than basically half of what you've got. And I'm not trying to be Daddy Warbucks. I don't have that much money. Got a nice house, a car, and you know, a few $million bucks. And so I'm like, stop saying I got $100 million or $60 million. Right. Stop saying I'm a fraud. Federal magistrate, federal judge, federal, what's the term they use? Trustees. You come in here and see this, so they stop lying in the press to do this. And so that's why I did it, is so I can sit there and say, here I am to a federal court. That's what bankruptcy is for. So I'm not in 2 Sandy Hook trials in Texas this summer and 1 in the fall And it's all about HBO and Netflix and huge, like $20-30 million budgets for HBO.
Wait, are they talking? He's talking about like there's like a Netflix show, an HBO show?
The guy that did Leaving Neverland. And you go to the court hearings, and the judges are combing their hair, putting makeup on.
Wait, hold on.
The other lawyers are miking themselves up.
You're going a little fat.
Yeah, really.
Tie in with Netflix and Leaving Neverland?
Netflix, CNN, HBO, they're all making documentaries
About your situation.
So when I go
yeah. Oh my God.
there's
Look,
literally the other side miking up, putting.
I mean, listen, I am somebody that understands like social media and how cutthroat it can be. And like, I mean, I still don't feel bad for you.
Shit.
The judge is putting
Alex.
it on.
Oh my God.
And then they go, "You devil!" And I'm just sitting there going, and it's.
But he's
all
wearing makeup.
Them trying
That's
to be famous and
unmanly.
them
He
making
shouldn't be
money
able
off
to.
this.
Someone wearing makeup shouldn't be able to decide my. I don't know.
Saying I'm doing it, and I'm like, whoa! I'm going to the federal court. You guys are full of it. This is insane.
So you have just like a litany of documentaries and specials and movies being like.
Wait,
right now.
Wait, what is up with the judge putting on makeup though? Are they talking about like televised trials or something? It's like, I know some of the trials are televised. I didn't know that there was. I mean, I guess there would be makeup involved.
How about your current situation? You just know about that.
There are at least 7 Alex Jones documentaries. That
Oh my God,
right now.
so good.
And it's all about Sandy Hook. So they see
so good.
If they can demonize Alex Jones as a populist, they can demonize anybody. And so, yeah, I mean, that's their, I'm not even scared of those shows. People see through it, but I've got to hear how I'm getting rich and famous off this SH. I'm having to hear how my whole career is based on it, but it's not even a blip on the radar. And I'm sitting there, you know, hearing this. I mean, going on one Joe Rogan podcast is 1,000 times bigger than my coverage of SH. Sneaking into Bohemian Grove was 1,000 times bigger. Interviewing Trump and you know stuff was 1,000 times bigger. Being at January 6th trying to stop it, 1,000 times bigger. Having Tucker Carlson talk about us 100 times bigger. And it's just not true that this thing is who I am or I got rich off of it. And then now we literally go and the judges like this, they're like, we're miking you up and like, oh, it's mine. And they're both of them like they
the judge is miking you up?
Oh, and because they're just in another world. They think HBO is important. They think Netflix is important. They don't know that podcasts and shows like this are already bigger than that. That's why it's all falling apart. And so I don't want to participate, especially when they're saying he's getting rich, he's getting famous, he lives off this. And I'm just like, please let me off this ride. I question everything. I even admitted in a deposition a couple years ago, I've been deposed 4 times, that I used to think everything was staged 10 years ago because
I mean,
so much of it was, and it was like a form of psychosis, kind of like a form. And I went on.
The only way he doesn't have like a shit ton of money is if he's got like an addiction issue or a gambling issue that we don't know about, or he's like, you know, buying some kind of really unstable investments, or I don't know. Like, yeah, I don't know. I think he's trying to. Oh my God, yeah, this is the flop sweat of a man trying to hide his money. Declare a bankruptcy and just like slide right out of there, and then like somehow all the money that he's hidden can like come out of the like just come out of the cracks and just ooze into his mollusk-like body again, and he'll be fine.
You know, the public doesn't
Like, honestly, let's be real, he's gonna be fine.
believe anything anymore because they've been lied to so much. And they go, Jones admits he's diagnosed with psychosis. No, I said kind of like a form. Because I'll admit when I've been wrong.
I don't remember anybody saying like Alex Jones is literally psychotic and I don't know. I don't remember this thing.
These people don't do that.
Being a
So
thing.
that's why they don't have big audiences. I am authentic and real.
Are you sure they didn't just make fun of you for like
mistakes and all? The difference is I'm not trying to lie to people on purpose. So I don't want to go off on a whole rant about that, but I've done limited bankruptcy. It's all there in the filings. And I'm sure that
what's the difference between bankruptcy and limited bankruptcy?
I'm not a lawyer, but they've got involuntary bankruptcy where they can force you into it. They've got voluntary bankruptcy where you yourself can't pay your debts, and then you've got different types of corporate bankruptcy. And so what we've done is not really what they call the divisive merger, but it's similar, where you got a company that's ongoing, like Johnson & Johnson with baby powder or whatever. You say, okay, we're going to create a new company and put it into there and agree to pay out of the company for the claims. And so you segment that off. And so what we're saying is, Okay, you found me guilty without being, tried. Fine. But you can only make people pay what they've got. I don't even care about the money I have. It's not much compared to things. I'm not even trying to make money. So you can have what I got. And they're like, no, we know you've got hundreds of millions. I tried to go settle with them. And they go, we know you have hundreds of millions. And I'm like, I do not. They go, you're a fraud in the court. I hired like a big Democrat CPA 2 years ago thinking, I'll hire a Democrat known CPA that's highly respected. Bring the CPA in, they say in Connecticut, this is a fraud. You've got all this hidden money. And we're like, we'll call the police on me. Then I perjure.
Okay, here's my deal. Like, does he even have lawyers? Because the way he's describing this court case, it sounds like he is acting as his own legal representation, right? I can't imagine, if they're saying you're being fraudulent, you're hiding your money, like, in the court, like, that's a really bad thing, right? I don't know. You can't, oh my God. It feels like he thinks he can get away with shit that he can't actually get away with. And he's getting caught. And like, I don't see how somebody with a proper legal representation would have that happen to them. They'd get
myself. I did.
Unless he's just being, insistent on.
Stop it. And so now I'm like, I'm done.
I mean, I guess at the end of the day, his lawyers have to do what he says, but
federal court in,
usually they'll advise. Like a lot of lawyers, if you start acting like this, they'll quit. They don't want to be part of it, right? If you're gonna like faceplant, they don't want to be, saddled with that.
Look down our throat, look up our rear end, whatever. So you guys will shut up and stop it because they don't want to know the truth, and that's what's frustrating about it.
Well, how does it feel? One of the things you said was really striking, that the judge, and I don't want you to say anything that's going to be bad for you to say, but one of the things you said was that the judge was like seemingly interested in being on camera. She needs more water,
guys. I'm being good.
Yeah, water. The judge, like,
is he
drunk? You kind of insinuated that the judge was enamored with being on camera and being part of the documentaries and stuff.
I mean, that would explain the flop sweat, right?
No doubt. I mean, listen. The judge in Connecticut literally said in a ruling, we filed fraudulent financial documents. The damn things are 100% real. Like, you think I'm going to go to jail for perjury? I mean, this is ridiculous. And we're like a respected Democrat CPA that does the CPA work for like major Democratic Party organizations. You're saying he's a fraud because they were already saying it was a fraud. So I said, well, I'll hire a big Democrat.
What?
And that wasn't enough. Okay. And that's what I'm saying about this is it's
you don't need to hire any particular.
It's insane. I mean, I'm completely transparent. I don't have any stocks or bonds. I've got a house, a car, and to run my company, you really need like $4 or $5 million. The company as big as mine and all my crew to be able to buy a product in the future. We don't even have that much. We don't have $3 million. And so InfoWars is in trouble because I haven't laid people off. I haven't cut their pay. I'm down to like,
he sounds like a fraud.
Vehicle we've got.
He's oh my God.
I've got my trucks. I'm
voice is painful.
I love, and I don't need to be speed anyways. And it's just gonna be funny when they
finally. Oh my God. Okay. No, don't make me feel bad for Alex Jones. I swear to God, I'll be so pissed.
So, I mean,
do not make me feel bad for Alex Jones.
Personal question having to do kind of just with your mental health and your soul. But like, I'm hearing all this shit and I can't imagine it. I've been very blessed in my life to never have dealt with legal problems at all. Knock on whatever the fuck that is.
Ow, you're going to hurt your knuckles, sweetie.
Mentally and just as a person, because I could only imagine you. Are you in a dark place about it? Are you hopeful? Are you?
I'm worried about the war.
That's definitely not wood.
Currencies and the inflation and everything that's happening.
He's Shadow Kermit?
I'm not really worried about myself at the end of the day. I mean, my dad almost died of COVID last year. I've lost family members. I've had bad family things happen that are so painful that it's kind of like the old thing. You hit your finger with a hammer. Well, you know how to fix the pain, cut your arm off. The pain is so much greater with personal things in my life that people lying about me in the media and trying to bankrupt me doesn't really do anything.
Okay.
Except
like he's not doing himself any favors by appearing on like media like this.
I realize we have an important mission for free speech and what we're doing on air. And so I'm almost feel guilty that it isn't a big enough pain, or I don't feel sorry for myself. So no, I mean, I do worry about the country. I really do worry about the weaponization of the judiciary and the spying and the censorship. And, You know, they're trying to put me in jail for January 6th. It's all over the news. They've got criminal investigations going there. And I was there to have a peaceful rally with Trump.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. Is the January 6th.
And then
We're just going to have a nice peaceful rally with Trump.
On record trying to stop people going to the...
I didn't stand outside the Arizona, like, voting centers, start trying to foment, like
building.
A riot.
And I got thousands to not go in. And they go, we don't care. We're still investigating you as a terrorist. But if I'd have been out burning buildings down in Kenosha or in Portland, I'd be mostly peaceful. You know, I'd be bailed out by the vice president.
Well, I was just going to say that I went and watched a documentary, went to a screening with Michael Malice. We went and saw that. And like, I knew that you were under fire for the Jan 6 shit. And I knew that you were having legal problems over it. But I never saw the direct footage of you literally telling the crowd, do not enact violence. Do not hurt anyone. Do not get too crazy. Like, it seemed as if you were almost, maybe I'm wrong, I was not there that day. Thank God I wasn't there that day. But you seem to be almost the sole force that was trying to de-escalate things.
Oh, yeah. They even had the Wall Street Journal say Jones was there commanding people to go in. We sent them the video. They had to retract. But, again, you got 1 million people there in D.C., 50,000 inside the ellipse. And then no one could control that crowd. They had the National Guard not there. They had the police basically stand down. I show up hours into people breaking into the Capitol. It's a small minority getting in. Most people don't know and are just going in, but we're getting the messages in the news. There's a melee inside. I go, hey, this could be Kent State. Don't go in. Don't go in. Come around where we had a permit, you know, to speak on the other side at a stage. But then I watch PBS documentaries and CNN documentaries, and they're like, Jones was there leading the attack. And it's that frontline guy's announcer. There he was, Jones, leading the attack on the Capitol. Frontline.
That's Alex Jones trying to do a deep voiced, like a TV announcer. That's like oh my God.
Tonight.
I feel like you're already lower than the TV announcer.
PBS that knows that's not true, but they're running this because they're so weaponized against the American people, and they believe they're right, and they believe that they're going to dominate us for our own good.
Do you ever consider, I mean, I'm going to assume the answer before I even ask, but do you ever consider, like, if you're watching PBS and you're watching these fucking people say Jones was leading the attack or the charge, whatever, do you ever consider firing back at them and suing them?
You know,
because it seems as if that's completely opposite of the truth.
Well, here's how the courts work. The New York Times said that Sarah Palin put crosshairs on a congresswoman's head and said, kill her.
I remember that, yeah.
She didn't. It was a lie. But they found, hey, the press is so important, they're allowed to say that. And I actually agree with that. She's a public figure. And even though we know the New York Times lied, that's their right to do it, really. Well, that's New York Times versus Sullivan. They get to tell lies about WMDs on purpose. I make mistakes and I get shut down. So I don't have the time or the money or the energy to sue all these people.
Yeah.
Such a weird contrivance that the right wing have in their mind, right? They were like unsatisfied with how George W. Bush's politics. They were too liberal, right? So, you know, like, I mean, and legit, like they did, like, you know, he didn't go as hard on immigration as they wanted him to. You know, there's a lot about Bush that compared to like a Trump is kind of like moderate, right? So like that is their beef with George W. Bush. Now they got them, they have it figured out in their mind that, so Bush was not a real conservative, right? Okay. So, you know, all the bad things about the Iraq war, right? The Iraq war that we supported, the Iraq war that we enabled, even if we weren't super thrilled with Bush, we were cool with him going into Iraq. We're going to act like we like wash our hands of that. We never like he's a big spender. That's what he is. He's a big spending liberal who spent a lot of money on a war that didn't kill enough, you know, people in religious groups that we hate, right? That's how they rationalize it, and it's actually, it would be funny if it wasn't so sad.
And to do that,
because just once you want to see a little bit of accountability, just like a little bit of accountability.
Alex Jones found guilty for writing "Nobody Died at SH." Well, I never wrote a book. Nobody died at SH. And I called AP and they just said, screw you, sue us. But they'd already created that thing of I'm guilty. So it's this total weaponization of the media. I mean, that's really all it is.
Here's the thing that I get, maybe conflicted is a strong word, but I'm noticing this thing with you where I've met so many people who have, you know, a public persona, media profiles, and they have a very good image. They're very much protected by the regime. They're very much protected by the corporate press, and they can do no wrong in the eyes of the mainstream media, right? And then you meet them in real life and you're like, oh, that's a demon. That's maybe not literally, I don't believe in literal demons, but that's a bad person. And their image doesn't match with...
You know who does believe in literal demons? You're sitting right next to him.
Like their good public persona. And for you, it's flipped. You have this like persona that's put on you, not by you, but other people, that you are a bad person. And when I posted my picture, people were saying, he doesn't even see you as human. Why are you hanging out with him? Which is like, how are you going to tell me how he feels about me when I've been around him in real life? But anyways, the thing that I struggle with is like, I've met so many people that are bad people in real life, good people in public. You're supposedly a bad person in public. I don't believe that either, but people say that. And you're a very nice person in real life. So it's crazy.
Wait, how is she not a ContraPoints character? Like, how is she? Maybe wait.
In real life.
I mean, wait. Maybe she's not a real person. Like, she just seems like a ContraPoints character.
So does it get frustrating also?
Okay, so who's supposed to be Blaire White? Is Tiffany Tumbles is Blaire White, or like?
Legal stuff aside, that you are
mistakes were made.
A person who wants to inflict harm, because that's the thing. They think that you, with the SH thing, that you wanted to inflict harm, that you wanted to hurt these families. That's what they say.
Yeah, and if you go to the record, I've never said the names of any of the people but one of them. And under Texas law, you're not supposed to be able to sue somebody if you haven't said their name, but they still do it. And I just forgive them. They're under a lot of pain, and they want to have value in their life and meaning. So they've just kind of projected onto me a lot of hatred. And I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes, but I didn't really question that out of a place of harm. And they can take things out of context where I'm yelling and screaming, and which is like 2% of the time what I'm doing, and say this guy looks kind of nuts. And sometimes I see stuff and I'm like, that guy does look nuts. He does look crazy. Like
sometimes.
A couple years ago, I did the famous "I'll eat my neighbor's" deal, and I said, well, I explained it as the modest proposal.
Listen, the worst thing I ever said was that I'm a mentally ill masturbator. Okay, I never.
By Swift, like 300 years ago, the Irish were all starving to death. And
modest proposal. Yeah, you were just making a modest proposal.
Called a modest proposal.
Wait, but the modest proposal. Oh my God, no. Okay.
On the newspaper saying, well, the Irish shouldn't complain. They should breed their babies, fatten them up, and sell them.
Wait. So the whole point of the modest proposal was to make fun of and ridicule the degree to which the rich dehumanize the poor, right? And to say something that mocked this spirit with which they, you know, ignored and walked all over and used and you know, manipulated the poor, right? Like that's what that was about, right? So that is parody, okay? So that's pretty cool, because you know what? We realized that Jonathan Swift is not actually saying eat some babies. Jonathan Swift is saying, you know, what are y'all gonna do next? Eat some babies, right? That's what that means, right? Now, Alex Jones, you said, I will eat your globalist ass or something like that. And you didn't mean, you were talking about sex. That was not like a statement about sex at all. That was the pure cannibalism, right? Now, I don't think that you're really gonna do it, because that would be wild, but you did say it, and you did say it with a very convincing, you were very in character. Let's just say when you were talking about like stringing up your neighbors for meat. And you went that far. You got descriptive. You got more descriptive than I just did right then. And what I just said was kind of gross, right? So, yeah.
Be eaten. So I said this is a Jonathan Swift allegory.
It's not like Jonathan Swift at all.
The supply chain breaks down. You won't just have inflation, you'll have starvation. Within 10 days, most
are you gonna just go to like literary, like, you know, canon stories for every single, like, you know, thing that you did wrong? Is like, you know, it was like just like when Herman Melville described the great white whale as of like, oh my God, what the hell?
Homicidal killers within 15 days, people commit suicide or they become cannibals. So I said, hypothetically, as an allegory, I'm looking at my neighbors, figuring out how to haul them up by a chain and chop them up and eat them. Now, I said the same 10.5-minute segment. This is satire. This is off of this famous essay. But I said it with so much conviction, I knew when I did it, they would edit out what I said and would put it out, and it was really powerful. It was like Jack Nicholson, you can't handle the truth. It was really intense.
But like what you were really doing is just like you're mad and you were like puffing your chest and saying like, I mean, and like when people puff their chest, sometimes they say some TOS shit, right? Like if I were to like, you know, make a physical threat at somebody, right, that would be like a huge like problem, right? For me, right? I wouldn't last very long on this platform. I'd be gone, right? But with Alex Jones, you know, he's like, you know, it's a threat that he doesn't mean, right? He's not, I don't think he's going to eat people. I hope he's not going to eat people. But you were like, just, I don't know, trying to scare people. Like that's the nearest I can tell. You like legit wanted to, like, you thought the globalist was out there watching your show, be like, okay, what is Alex Jones going to say this week? And he's like, I'll eat your globalist ass. And they're like, oh no, he's going to eat us. You guys, it's our one weakness, getting eaten by Alex Jones. Oh shit, we didn't think, we better call off the grand global, you know, the great reset or whatever the hell we're doing right now that Alex Jones doesn't like. We got to call it all off. Because if we do it, he'll eat our asses.
And
he's serious. You guys, I saw him. He's serious about it.
That's it. Because I did the proviso knowing they'd be deceptive and edit it, and it would be this thing with 20 million views, and it was. And so if anything, I know how they deceive, and I manipulate them and let them do it, but I have the little proviso that, hey, this isn't serious, but then I know they're going to do that. So it's kind of a dirty thing I do. It's one of the bad things I do. And I just kind of get the idea.
One of the bad things. One of the bad things.
It's a guilty pleasure, but they're the ones lying. Because I say, this isn't serious. This is satire. And then they edit that off and put the part out.
So you're fully aware that when you say some of the more intense things you say, that it's going to be taken out of context and you almost are entrapping them to lie.
Exactly. And so the last year or so, I've been behaving myself, and I've not done that. And that's funny.
Entrapping them to lie by quoting the literal words that you said.
It hurt me too, because I can do those big viral moments despite being censored and blackballed and deplatformed, and I can still get the audience to come back, but then things are so serious now that I don't even do satire anymore. I don't. I've decided. I said I can't criticize these people, and then manipulate them. I just have to be high road, no matter what it happens, and so I haven't done that.
Not going to do that anymore.
Every day.
Wait. It's a super effective tactic. It's like the only thing that I can do against the establishment, but I'm not going to do it anymore because I'm just too good of a person. Me, Alex Jones, I don't
really do something with that. Oh,
I felt guilty. I felt guilty about tricking them.
He's such a thug. And he
okay, so here we got a little tea.
JetBlue employee that couldn't help the plane.
Here we got a little bit of tea on Bill O'Reilly. Not a fan.
When they're going, oh, sorry,
not a friend.
It's delayed 3 hours. They're trying to fix it. There's 10 engineers like sweating trying to fix it, and then you got to stay in a hotel for the night.
Are they sweating like that?
You know, in the military, for a helicopter to be up an hour, it's like 100 hours of maintenance. Well, it's the same thing with aircraft. And he's like, you little worm! I'll kick. You know, he's in the guy's dehumanizing him. Well, that's not the guy that the part broke on the JetBlue. And he's just such a bullying thug. Well,
what a monster.
I could have gone on there today.
Okay, so I haven't seen this Bill O'Reilly tape, but it sounds lovely.
And said, I don't mean this literally, but I wish Bill O'Reilly would do that to me. I would break his jaw and stomp his ass on the ground. They will cut me saying, I don't mean this literally, and just put that out.
Exactly.
But I didn't do it. But I just did it. And people will then watch this later and go, Jones didn't do that. And you'll see how they do that. But that's constantly like, oh my God, that's super viral. I could take over that. I could really, I'm just like, don't do it. Because it's like the Ring of Mordor. You can't put it on and then have it do good. But Bill O'Reilly has like said the most horrible.
It's the Ring of Mordor.
And lied about me.
Look, he's really good at the Take Meister, okay? But he can't do it anymore because it's the Ring of Mordor, and it's literally turning him into Gollum right now, right before our eyes. And that's what the flop sweat's about. That's why he's not doing so good. It's withdrawal. It's ring withdrawal.
And he is just such a thug. And I see him, you know, he's a big guy landing here. It's just retarded. If you want to go bitch and say JetBlue has horrible service because the plane broke, that's your issue. But maybe if you flew on 5 JetBlue flights and then 3 of them broke down, you'd say that place sucks. I don't know that, it's hypothetical.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that it just shows you who he is.
Well, that goes to like even in right-wing media. I mean, he's definitely been kind of buried under a lot of controversy and shit. He's kind of off the radar.
Well, he deserves it. I mean, he's
You think?
He did a lot.
I mean, a little bit, yeah, a little bit.
But you know, there was a time in your career. I remember this. This was when I was a little younger. That the mainstream media, I wouldn't say they embraced you, but they tolerated you because I think you were maybe possibly less of a threat at the time. So you did the rounds, you did The View, you did Piers Morgan, you did CNN a couple times, you did a lot of shit, right? That was just mainstream media. Whereas now I don't think any place will book you other than do a hit piece. So you've met all these people. You've met all these people that are the pundits and the talking heads. So like, what are they like in real life? Are they fucking demons in real life? Or
are they demons in real life? Hey, whether or not you're a demon in real life, remember to like and subscribe. It really helps me out in the algorithm. If you get a chance, leave a comment down there too. I do answer those, okay? So if you want to know what I think about something, put it to me in the form of a comment, because even though I am no comment chick, I will still read and respond to your comment.
Because I meet them
and I might be sassy.
Like, oh, these are bad.
I might be a little bit
you don't have to
sassy.
be a bad person to see
you don't know
that person on CNN.
That's the risk you take.
And you know,
yeah, I mean,
it's a good risk though. It's a good risk.
I don't think back in
it makes you stronger.
Your crossfire with Pat Buchanan and people, it was bad. But in the last decade, it's definitely been real reptilian. I don't mean literal reptilians, but it's very sociopathic, very fake. Because
it's Blaire, we're going to explain that this is a metaphor. I'm not talking about like David Icke's reptilian. I'm talking about the metaphoric version of David Icke's reptilian, right?
Here's your talking point, follow this. And so there's a real emptiness to that. And that's exactly.
Like, does this dude think he's Hunter S. Thompson or something? I don't get it.
And they're all just trying to see who can BS the public better, so the executives promote them.
I think that, and you can tell me how you feel about this, but I think that I'm done with Trump. I think his time is gone. I think we need new blood.
Are you going to move on to DeSantis?
But the thing about Trump.
Wait, whoa. What did she say about DeSantis? I got to know.
Because I think he did a lot of things.
I don't know what she said about.
I think that, and you can tell me how you feel about this, but I think that I'm done with Trump. I think his time is gone. I think we need new blood, new energy. I want DeSantis, but the thing about Trump that I will say is I think the best.
God damn it, Blaire.
Because I think he did a lot of things wrong.
Like seriously, Blaire, seriously, DeSantis. That's who you want. Oh my God.
The best thing is we walked away with a very deserved contempt for the corporate press that he kind of
she's like, how can I betray trans people today? Like, look, Zonia, this is goals for you, okay? This is goals. I'm just saying the way that she's, she's so much better at betraying trans people than you are.
To us, like, here is the breaking down of the walls. You can see who they really are.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think Trump did thousands of good things.
Yeah.
It's just his pushing of the experimental injections. Some of the pardons he did were really terrible. Him allowing censorship to happen and only paying lip service are the negatives. But when it comes to saying, hey, the corporate press is the enemy of the people, and calling them out was just beautiful.
Wait, the enemy of the people? Look, if you had just said lying press, you would have you'd be like 5 out of 5 like Nazi dog whistles there.
And I think when he was doing that, he did the best of anybody. And so I think we owe Trump a debt of gratitude. I mean, he went from being worth like $12 billion, like $3 billion while he was president. He got sued thousands of times. He got massively persecuted. And so
imagine thinking that Trump was a real billionaire.
I criticize Trump.
Here's the deal, Alex. You have more money than you're claiming. Trump has less money than he's claiming.
Point out the things he did that I don't agree with, but overall, I give the guy, an A+. And I agree that, it's 75, 76, whatever it is. He's like Biden. His time has come and gone. I think DeSantis is amazing. I really like DeSantis. I'd like Tulsi Gabbard would be a great president. We see real. I mean, I don't agree with everything she says, but yeah. I mean, I think compared to for other Democrats, she's the best there is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just saying I like people. Even
he's literally had David Icke on his show. Damn.
I disagree with some of the things they say or do. At the end of the day, you can tell they're running their own show. And I think, they mean well. And I think DeSantis would be the best president for us in 2 years.
Okay, so you're saying that what he's doing is more like it's like he reels out, like, yeah, it's like he just says, this is all metaphor, I'm just kidding, I'm not serious about this, but then he's like, wink, 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 wink. Yeah, no, he's just fucking serious.
I think he's kind of showing that.
Wait, here's what it is. Here's what it is. He wants money from the people who want to think that he's just talking hard. And he also wants money from the people that think, no, for real, though, for real, whatever, like he's like reptiles in the government. That's what we got. Shape-shifting reptiles.
In my opinion,
unironically, he wants both money. He wants all the money.
Entire adult life, but I think that Republicans generally, especially politicians, are quite weak. I think they're afraid to counterpunch.
Oh yes,
the left run amok.
Well, that's it.
That's right. That's what's going on. The Republicans are the soy in this relationship. Yeah, not the other way around. No. The Democrats don't let themselves get used and abused. It's the Republican, right? The Democrats aren't the ones who are obsessed with respectability politics, or not. It's not even respectability, civility politics. That's the Republicans. They're super civil.
On average, are like 75 years old, and they are scared of the corporate media. They don't get it's good to be attacked by it, and they've got the platform. So yeah, they just are a bunch of old lawyers that are knock-kneed and just conformists, and they're horrible.
Well, that was one of Trump's pitfalls, was he came from the Hollywood scene and, well, New York, but the entertainment industry. And I think that he...
Because of his show?
Was, to an extent, enamored with being liked by them, still being in that group, that he didn't push back as hard as he could have. Whereas DeSantis...
So it turns out, like, listen, George W. Bush was just a liberal, okay? He's a big spending liberal. The Iraq War is not our fault as the conservative movement, because he's really just a Democrat in disguise. Trump, also huge fucking lib. Huge lib. We need DeSantis. That's what we need. We need...
Like, he pulls no fucking punches. I think that he enacts a lot of policy that a lot of people are like, oh...
But no. You know what? It's the left that's moving to the extreme left. It's not like us. We're not like, the right wing. We're not...
It's like, well, he should have done that.
DeSantis gets, you want to be attacked by the system. You don't want to be loved by it. He understands that it's like rotten milk. I mean, its expiration date is
so over. It's like inside, outside. It's so one message for the outside, another message for the inside.
Plunging. Hollywood's dead. Nothing can put Humpty Dumpty back together again. So they can try to demonize Alex Jones and shut him down and set the precedent for everybody else.
Wait. Who's Humpty Dumpty? I mean, your forehead's looking a little runny, Alex. I don't know.
All this stuff, it's not going to work. I mean, they're done.
Are you sure you're not Humpty Dumpty?
I think, and I had this.
Are you sure you're not done?
If you agree that I think that because I grew up in California and I had to escape LA because of the lockdowns and the COVID and shit, I kind of was under this spell that I thought like, oh, Democrat politicians are the enemy, they're evil, they're the
so
worst.
There it is. I think she moved to Austin during the lockdown. And Austin's still incredibly expensive. And like it's like for Texas, it's
look above that. Let me go past that, because yeah, Newsom enacted a lot of crazy shit in California that affected my quality of life, everyone I knew. But you think that, or I kind of realized that the corporate press is actually the puppeteer and the politicians are the puppets. It's really the corporate press that holds these Democratic politicians to enacting things that are immoral, like lockdowns and enforced vaccines.
Exactly. It's the UN and the corporate media and the World Economic Forum and the corporations 2 years ago, 26 months ago, that demanded lockdowns and demanded this, and the media just got in lockstep. And so instead of just worrying about
no, dude, you know what they're saying? They're saying, the one thing that really sucks about COVID is that like not enough people died. That's what they're saying.
We've got to look at the Davos group.
We should have taken it less seriously.
The powerful corporate interests that are in control. You're absolutely right. Corporate global governance is the threat.
Yeah, it's not enough to just look at Newsom or any of these other Dem governors.
I mean, it's not really a threat. Corporate global governance is more or less here. And I wouldn't concentrate on the form of the corporation, right? Because that is just one, tool of wealth extraction, but rather the wealth extraction itself, the very mechanisms of capitalism. Alex, listen, you've almost stumbled upon it, okay? cash does move everything around, and you know, indeed, it's not the democracy is more of a theatrical kind of thing, right? It's to convince you, it's to make you feel like you have some effect, and maybe, you know, you have some effect. You can be like, do I want the shit sandwich or the what was it, the shit oh, I don't even remember. Oh my god, I'm quoting all the wrong things tonight, chat. I don't even know what my deal is, but yeah, you know, you got the choice to like maybe avoid a really bad politician like Donald Trump. That's about all you got. Right? Other than that, it's really hard to affect anything. And hey, if you're voting at that local level, you know, more power to you. But most people aren't. And so, you know, even at the you know, level that maybe people could have more of an effect, we're not. So, and you know, it's gerrymandered and everything else, right? Yeah, it's not, it's an illusion. The laws that get passed have more to do with what moneyed interests want, with what the people extracting the wealth want, than with what, you know, the people, the masses, the aggregate of the people want. So you're almost onto something.
It's like, that's kind of only seeing 10% of the problem.
You should explore that.
Because they're held hostage just as much as anyone else. You said that DeSantis is able to, you know,
and that's the problem with populism. That's why populism fucking sucks, is it takes revolutionary energy and it channels it against, like, you know, some pretty marginalized people most of the time, right? It takes all that fire and it says, here's your enemy, and it shows you somebody that you know, you should be feeling compassion for and solidarity for. But instead, you're going to target that person because it makes you feel like you're doing something.
Himself to act without caring about being hated by the press. But the Democratic governors really care about that. And so they're really held hostage, because if Newsom didn't lock down California, he'd be smeared in the press. You know, they wouldn't let him not do that. So you have to look above that.
Well, absolutely. These people are puppets. Anybody that tries to be a real leader, whether they be male or female, it doesn't matter. The system is going to undermine them and attack them.
Okay.
The special interests want to control everybody.
Yeah, 100%.
That's why people got to value free speech like America always did previously.
And so, like, special interest, so you get the feeling that you're talking about, like, the NAACP and some kind of LGBT organization is like that who runs America, right? That's what he would have you believe. So yeah, let's like attack marginalized groups. Let's let the corporations off the hook. Let's talk the game about corporations. Let's talk that populist game, but then let's redirect all that anger to people that didn't do this to us.
Agree with it or not, it really is valuable to do it, because that's what holds the establishment in check. And just to see liberals now, they're pro-war, they're pro-torture,
yeah,
they're pro-censorship, they're pro-surveillance, because they're not really...
I mean, that figures. I mean, they love George W. Bush, the great Democratic President George...
They're just corporate mouthpieces. And because they don't get censored on social media, that's just a form of counterfeit money. You know, because they're given that potential to then be spread and heard, they have basically sold out for just a few pieces of silver.
Yeah, and then you think about sort of the reason why so much shit goes unchecked now, not even just with the government, but just so...
This is another thing you're going to notice with these two. They want to think that everybody else is a shitlord just like them. And we're just not saying it. Like, we really hate marginalized people. We really, you know, we're really bothered by having to remember people's pronouns. You know, we're the same as them. Like, most people are the exact same as them. They just won't say it. So if somebody's, you know, acting like a liberal, it's they're not really liberal. They just want to have their voice amplified, and it's free clout for them, because that's who you can't get banned. If you're on the left on Twitter, there's just like, it's a rule against ever banning you. Yeah, you can do anything you want.
Many crazy ideologies that run amok, and you think like 90% of the reason this
is so ridiculous
is because people are so fucking terrified to speak out against it. Like, living in California, it's very different here in Texas, and I'm so happy here. But living in California, it's like no one had a voice because they were so terrified of being fired. They're so terrified of losing their livelihood, and it's like, I feel like so much of the crazy shit. I think of, like, I don't know, kids going on puberty blockers and getting surgeries. It's like the average person.
Oh my God. So how much are we going to sell out the trans community today, Blaire?
They're going to say, oh, that's really fucked up. That's really wrong.
How much are we going to sell out the trans community?
But if they think anyone but you's listening, they can't say that.
Exactly. It's an
she thinks that like LGBT people are really like, and the sad thing is there are like LGBT people that don't have solidarity, right? But for the most part, no, Blaire, no, it's just you.
Orthodoxy and like getting back to that, whenever I was here last week, and I think you're gonna air some excerpts later, but I was kind of out of it at the end. A lot of people were commenting online. I saw it like, well, wait a minute, he hates people that are trans or whatever, but then he's here being a hypocrite. And no, I've never been a hypocrite. I'm not against any adults with whatever they want to do. I'm a libertarian when it comes to that. I've never changed that view. You've been listening for a long time. You know that. What I don't like is whether it's homosexual, heterosexual, whatever it is, whatever the alphabet soup name is, children need to be left alone and be innocent. And if a dude walked up and started trying to tell my kids at the park, 5- and 6-year-olds, about sex, you call the police. But what is the school doing it? Leave people.
So in other words, a teacher can't talk about, like I was talking to my husband the other night, right? If that's a man that says that, that's not okay. If it's a woman that says, I was talking to my wife the other night, right? This is the shit that like libs of TikTok picked up and called G-rooming, right? So like, yeah, it's more slander, it's more lies. You know, like, no, Alex, you don't have a problem at all with like trans people. You're just saying, you're just spreading rhetoric that's like designed to get us hurt or worse.
Alone, and let them do what they want as adults, and then let them make their own decisions. That's what freedom's all about. So I've never been hypocritical, and I've never been, a fraud about that. I think you're a really nice person, really smart, neat person. I like you a lot. I think he was a friend.
Again, the problem is like he's framing this like that somebody's doing this to the kids. The kids don't want this, but like somebody's doctor's coming in and like, you're going to be a girl now. No, that's not how it works. Even if you are the kid that is like, I really, really, really feel like I need to transition. I've been, like, right, half of the time, you're going to get ignored by, your medical care professionals. You're going to get ignored. You're like, it's something that you have to really freaking push for, especially like at that age, right? Because there is so much like reticence, partially because of the bullshit spread by this guy. But we're talking about processes, okay, in a lot of cases that can't be reversed. The puberty cannot be reversed. If the child gets to the point where they're old enough to go on HRT and they decide, you know what, this was wrong, I don't want to do that, I want to live as like the my sex as identified at birth, right? That's doable, it's reversible, it's fine. What's not fine is forcing kids to go through a puberty that they don't want, especially if their parents are like on board and supporting in them. That this guy and Blaire White and Ron DeSantis and the entire like right-wing apparatus that is now mad with power from seizing the judicial branch, right? They want to take those kids away from their parents. That's what's on the fucking agenda for them, right? So it's they're saying that they're protecting kids. Please miss me with that garbage. Miss me with those lies. So to me, it doesn't matter. It's individuals and what they want to do in their own lives.
They call me the same shit. It's like, so it's funny that you mentioned they're calling you a hypocrite. I thought when you first started that sentence, you were going to say people were calling me that because I saw that about me. It's like, how could you sit there? There's like, how can I make it about me though? Could I make it about me? Together. This is like the second or third. But second of all, how are you going to tell me behind a screen how he feels when I've been in a room with him? That doesn't make any fucking sense.
Well, but that's what's happening is you were on my show like 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, I thought you're a really smart person.
You were my first interview ever.
So I was lucky you came on my show. You're a really smart person. And so besties. And so I'm not one way for one audience and one way for another. It's all completely there. No. I don't hate anybody. No. He's not. Oh my I'm not God. Brazen. People down. You're not hurting anybody.
It's more convenient for us to hate each other. Let's just be real. It keeps things the way that it is, and it keeps this crazy divide by making it more convenient for me to sit here and think that you're going to have a grudge against me or that you're not going to like me. Yeah, but I don't just not dislike you. I like you. Exactly.
And I like the crew out here and all these cool people. I mean, it's just stupid. And what I'm saying is it shouldn't be a political agenda what people do in their personal lives or their identities or who they are. And there is one thing about humans, we change our environment and we change who we are, and it is a fact that we are controlling our evolution. But the globalists then hijack that great truth and say, that's right, and we're going to control the evolution, and we're going to be in the driver's seat, and that should not be done.
Well, so you mentioned, and we'll talk about how last time we were a little out of it, but I want you to go more in depth this time about how I asked you how you felt about the kids in the hormone blockers and the surgeries, and you said that it was a... I
want to do that. Can we take a 5-second break?
Yes.
All right. That water you have was so good, and I stole it. And I'm going to be good this week, okay?
We need a little more water.
Does that mess you up?
No, you're fine.
I can go as long as you want to.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're just going to leave this? Okay, Blaire White's editor, what are you doing?
Just get him the tequila.
You couldn't do a little bit of editing?
I don't want to steal yours.
Okay, you did a little bit of editing.
It's tequila.
Oh, okay.
You could have done more editing.
I'm totally awake. My daughter was sick. I was just out of it. You doing good?
Maybe this is just good. They think this is just good entertainment right here. Okay, so
yeah, we should go out to eat.
He's wait, is he decided to get an alcoholic drink now?
I'll have a sip of this too.
That's yours. I stole yours.
Or is this water?
Over, but I mean, here's the deal. Start your question over. I apologize.
Yeah, you're good. So one of the things we started to get into last time was I asked you about the kids and the trans shit, and it's interesting because like we agree on that shit. I don't think any child should be having their puberty block surgeries that are irreversible, etc. I think that's something that you decide to do as an adult of your own volition and whatever. But you mentioned, and I want you to get more into it and tell me a little more because I'm fascinated by it. You said that it was a depopulation scheme, and that, or at least part of it was that.
Absolutely. It doesn't mean because somebody feels a way or is a way that they're bad. And it is a chemical fact that in a zygote or whatever,
oh, is he out of frame?
I apologize.
You're good. You're good.
I apologize.
Is he out of brain?
Take 3.
Okay, I thought she said, "Is he out of brain?" And I was gonna believe that maybe he was out of brain.
Time's a charm, Alex.
He could easily be out of brain.
Go ahead.
Okay.
So,
wow.
One of the things we got into last time, and I want you to go more in depth this time because I thought it was interesting.
So he got to keep. No, he's drinking hers.
Last time is
he's okay. Oh, I get it. I'm sharing. Look,
blockers, surgery, and
he's like, I'm sharing a drink with her. I'm literally drinking out of the same cup. A, you're gonna give each other COVID. Stop. But B, no, we don't think that this proves you're not transphobic, Alex.
And what the larger agenda?
We don't think this proves you're not transphobic.
And I can see very clearly that there is a government push to normalize that shit, which when I started my transition, that was not really a thing. There's maybe a few kids in Sweden doing it because they're always...
Two things you could do. You could steal her drink if you're really thirsty and she's not drinking that. Go ahead, right? Or you could let her drink the drink if you're really concerned about her hydration. But the thing that you're doing where like she drinks some and you drink some, like it's like that is just fucking rude.
A little bit ahead. But it wasn't such a...
That is a little bit rude.
Everyone was just on board with kids having their breasts cut off at 13.
Being bombarded.
Yeah. Now it's in the curriculum. Now it's a push, and we agree in the sense that I disagree with that. But you mentioned that it was part of a depopulation scheme, or at least a segment of that, one factor of it. So what is that?
Sure,
I want to know.
And it doesn't mean that people have a proclivity or genetically or for whatever reason are predisposed to something or bad people. It means there's an agenda hijacking that to basically, because obviously you're super smart and you're successful, but I've had members of the UK Parliament on there, even liberals, where overall they are targeting autistic boys and they are targeting, low IQ and Down syndrome and stuff, as a way to make sure that they don't have any children. They are basically using that as the cover for sterilization. And then also there's a larger issue of all the studies. We have a lake in East Texas at our ranch, and we wanted to get carp in it to eat the plant, so it's clear water. And you go to the state of Texas and they give you sterilized carp that have had a chemical put in the water that makes them asexual. And so what we know is atrazine and a lot of other chemicals in utero in the first trimester can basically change a lot of the sexual traits, either physically or also where you can see it, or to a less degree inside brain development. And so you do have a lot of boys who in utero are more feminine and express more feminine traits. And so it really is the...
I think we understand, like, the correlation between chromosomes and brain development. I feel like he's talking out of his ass, right?
The fact that they
I know for sure he doesn't understand.
More like a girl than a boy. And that's showing up in mammals.
What they're getting is this superficial notion of gender essentialism that basically reduces us down to our hormones, and that, like, I don't know, like, you know, like, estrogen doesn't make you want to, you know, be feminine, and testosterone doesn't make you want to be masculine. There's plenty of people that are dominant in those hormones that want to transition. That wouldn't happen if it was some kind of thing where it's like, oh yeah, it's because you got some exposure to estrogen in your mother's womb or something. Like, no, dude.
Showing up everywhere with the chemicals. And so that's where you get the famous...
He's really out, like, I mean, he's just like reaching and grasping.
Gay people, but I don't want them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frog.
Man, that's the problem with gay people. Always putting chemicals in the freaking water.
And like literally all over.
Yeah, that's right. I had this friend that was gay, and they were pretty cool, except they were always putting chemicals in my water. I was like, hey, gay person, why do you keep putting chemicals in my water? You know, are you trying to make my frogs gay?
The world, different.
Are you trying to make my frogs gay?
Chemicals are no longer attracted to the opposite sex. Whatever it does in the endocrine disruptors it causes a bunch of things to happen. And so,
I mean, basically, this is wanting to see homosexuality as a birth defect.
Should be having a larger discussion.
So on one hand, we're really, really, really concerned for all the children with disabilities that they might, you know, somehow be, they might, you know, parents might choose, upon hearing that you know, they developing fetus or embryo is testing positive for these traits, parents might not want to have the child. So he's worried about, like, children there, but he's not, you know, when it comes to, like, you know, when it comes to, like, oh God, yeah, there's this, like, it's so weird because, like, on one hand he's like, yeah, no, like, I don't hate anybody, I love, like, you know, I accept you for being trans, Blaire, but, like, at the same time, I think there's something kind of wrong with you. It might be a birth defect. We should make sure that less of you occur.
Why there's this proclivity and why this is happening, not hate people that have been affected by it. And of course, going back thousands of years ago, there were a certain percentage of the population was already like that to begin with. So I don't hate any of those people. What I'm getting at is that there is a larger scientific body of evidence that shows that this is a cultural thing, but more importantly, it's something happening biological.
Yeah, I think I don't know which is scarier, the cultural part or the biological, because like, I've felt trans my entire life. Probably 5 was the earliest age I had the feeling.
Is she going to entertain this idea that she might be the result of some kind of
girls being told they're that way, which is the opposite for me, which was I had these feelings and they weren't validated by everyone around me or pushed.
Is she going to entertain the idea that she's an abomination of modern, like, society or modern, you know?
But now you have these 5-year-olds that are being told, because they like girly, I'm gonna get some, or because they like boyish
watermelon
girl, that they must be the opposite sex.
Oh my God, this is such bullshit.
Push. And I guess that would make sense if the theory is that this is a depopulation scheme, or at least one aspect of it. But that's fucking scary.
Well, I mean, there is no doubt they want to destroy the family, and they don't want to have single family dwellings, and they want to not just have GMO.
I agree with that.
Not just have GMO crops, they want to have GMO people. And you've got all these animal-human hybrids that they never roll out in the public, but they've been producing in all these different medical experiments that don't have rights. They don't have animal rights. They don't have human rights. They're this no man's land. And so they're kind of using the trans agenda to get you used to saying a biological man can compete against women.
Oh my God.
Or a biological man can be in prison and 2 women got pregnant. That's not true.
We got the biologicals.
They're also using it to basically be illogical and then scapegoat a group of people that are innocent like yourself, and then basically use that for their agenda. Because, I mean, you come off like a woman, you look like a woman, and it seems natural that you're a woman. But then you get some giant former, you know, ex-con armed robber prisoner
raping women in prison
who's like deadlifting 600 pounds, and
So what? You're a true scum? Is that your deal? Like, look, I'm pro trans people, but I'm a true scum. Okay, only certain trans people, like Blaire.
He's like, somebody goes, hey, dude, how you doing? Yeah, man, I'll get to you next. He's like, it's ma'am, I'm going to beat your ass. You know, and he's like sitting there. That's not a woman.
It's different.
It's different. And then sitting there letting a thug do that, it's like no one buys it. And so.
It's also an easy divider, right? It's an easy topic that is going to split people in half, like so many other things. You know, I think back to like.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you're talking about these people, trans feminine people, who've you know, freaked out in public, you know, sometimes due to being misgendered, sometimes due to other things, right? And been, you know, had their image like spread all over the internet, right? And had their lives ruined. And you're talking about them as like brutes, right? And that's the problem. They're too brutish. They're too manly. They're too... Blaire, what's more brutish than picking on somebody that's unable to defend themselves? Blaire, I hate to say it, but you're looking a little manly. Just in terms, oh my God, take my sir. Just in terms of the like, if you're what you're worried about is brutishness, right? And you think that's unfeminine, Blaire, you've crossed that line.
So my whole life, because I'm 28 now, so I'm not old, but I'm not that young. I have been alive long enough to know now that the corporate media uses certain topics to split people, and it's very convenient for them. I've been around long enough to know that with global warming, the end of the world's always 5 years away, right? I remember being told 2012, 2015, 2020.
Everything, all the oceans are going to overtake Wild Bill Gates and Hillary Clinton and Obama by oceanfront property.
Right, and it's a very easy way to divide people, which only certain...
And for anybody who has trouble understanding this sort of thing, that was not a comment on Blaire White's looks or anything else. That is like me turning her gender essentialism back at her. If you're going to bully people, Blaire, then you're living in the glass house, and your rocks are going to break the glass house that you're living in. And that's not a good scene, Blaire. That's not good for anyone.
It's the elites, because you stop looking towards them and you look towards your neighbor.
If you don't let us cut your resources off, you're all going to die.
Yeah. And instead of looking at the actual enemies, suddenly you're looking at your neighbor and you're saying, well, you are not wearing a mask, or you are against trans, or you're for trans, or you are racist and you're not racist. So it's very fucking convenient.
It's another divide and conquer strategy.
Yeah, 100%.
You're absolutely right. And I mean, that's where it is. And it becomes just this football issue of, instead, why are you cutting off our gas pipelines? But Saudi Arabia and China and Mexico and India and 160 other countries are building new coal power plants and new pipelines. We won't be able to do industry here. It'll all move to those countries, which, again, the globalists control. So instead of talking about what color we are or what sexual preference we have, you know, they don't want us talking about those big issues.
But it seems so low vibrational too, right? Like whenever I hear, and I don't want to get too deep with it, but whenever I hear people really going on about race and shit like that, it's like, I grew up in a poor neighborhood where no one really saw race because everyone was fucking poor. And
I mean, she's cruel because she's a bully, right? And like, a bully is kind of like a monster created out of privilege. And that's what Blaire White is. She's a fucking monster.
And when I became an adult and I moved to LA and I saw that there's all these rules for race and all these conversations about race, and I kind of was like, this is so foreign to me. I've never really saw race. And people get so frustrated when you say that, but I've really never given a fuck. And you're not allowed to not care.
I mean, it's used for social control. It is the new religion. They don't want you to debate big corporations being above the law. They don't want you to debate real issues. So exactly, it's all these rules, these new orthodoxies that you're supposed to follow to prove you're not a bad person. But it doesn't matter if Apple has some of the worst slave conditions in China because, well, you know, Tim Cook gives money to Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, I mean,
Tim
another
Apple.
good example of that is Disney recently
See how this microphone always lowers? Look.
Yeah.
I don't care, but I'm not obsessed with the microphone. It's
do we want to get some
I'm not complaining. I kind of like it. Look at this, though. Look at it. It just sits there.
Low-key salty.
All right, let's get it tightened.
This is good on air. It's good
Yeah,
stuff.
we'll keep it
Low-key salty, but you gotta understand, like, Blaire is doing Alex a solid here, all right? Alex is in a bad way. Alex needs this more. Alex needs Blaire more than Blaire needs him. Alex is so contrite that he's not gonna demand, like, hey, what the fuck? You're not setting up my microphone right. He's still gotta be a little bit of a prima donna. He's like, not really loving this mic.
Who cares?
That's what I do. I apologize.
Thanks, hon.
Oh, did you just call Alex Jones a hun? Oh my God, Alex, you just got destroyed.
Disney.
Oh no.
Don't go.
You just got TTTT'd.
I'm not complaining. No, it just keeps dropping. The render's good. All right, that's good. That's wonderful. I'm not going to touch it.
It's dropping again.
I'm not complaining.
Oh my God.
There we go.
Yep. Magic. Start over with Disney.
Yeah, Disney.
Hey, listen.
You know, they had the whole war, or they have the whole war going on with Florida.
I don't feel as bad for calling Blaire on her gender essentialism and saying that, like, by her own definition, she's acting manly, right? That compared to the fact that Alex Jones just got called a hun.
Florida and all the.
Like, Blaire,
They
geez.
say it's a don't get say gay bill. It's a lie.
See, this is what she does when she's got all the power.
War with Disney, but like Disney is.
She's gonna let him know it too.
In Saudi Arabia, where you get thrown off a building for being gay, and gay men are forced to transition because they think that that's better to be a woman than to be a faggot, right? So it's like
Absolutely. No, I mean, yeah.
it's all hypocrisy.
Disney's just covering itself like, again, like a religion that, oh, we're good. When the bill says don't sexualize children, school teachers, when kids are like, what, 5 to 8, don't tell them about sex, leave them alone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous. Exactly. Just leave people's innocence alone. You're absolutely right.
No, I mean, it's like literally a bill that you cannot acknowledge. Like you, like I said, you know, if you're a teacher, normally telling a story about your significant other would not be a big deal. But apparently in Florida, that's like a huge problem.
I don't think you can make someone gay or trans who isn't, but I think you can confuse a kid about if they are or not. You can fuck up a kid's head.
Absolutely. And then you're going to have a lot of predators who are going to say they're women so that they can get around women.
Yeah, of course. And people said that wouldn't happen, but then you're seeing it more and more. It's
fucking content warning here.
In the women's area,
this shit is gross. This shit is tropey.
Yeah, but when you get some dude that's like bigger than me, like, hey, I'm in the women's area, and like I read about where they'll go to like Asian spas where the grandma and the mother and the kid are in the hot tub.
Yeah, that was in LA.
like a dude gets in with a heart on, and it's like, what the? I mean, it's like
there's a difference between you going in with a wig and me going in. It's just different.
Blaire, you're such a fucking traitor.
People don't see that. People don't get that.
You're such a fucking traitor, Blaire.
Well, but that's what they're doing, and it's just it's completely insane. And they know what they're doing, and it's total divide and conquer, like you said, and it needs to stop.
Yeah.
Because
can I get back? I don't want to forget this question because when you were saying it, I was like, I got to get back to this, but then we kept going about the other shit. The human animal hybrids. I don't really know much about that. That just sounds like some crazy.
That sounds like some good content right there, doesn't it, Blaire? Does that sound like some content?
Give me
is your content
for dummies
sense going off?
Happening there?
Is your spidey sense tingling?
Growing human organs is obviously going to be one of the biggest industries ever.
Yeah.
And
obviously,
it's hard to create artificial wombs to do that. Also, if something's 100% human, it's got rights. And if something's an animal, it's even got rights. But if it's a new species, an alien, which means never been on the earth before, part human, part animal, now that human-animal hybrid doesn't have rights. And so you can't.
I feel like you're just trying to raise the SEO value by like calling it like an alien. You're like, okay, so we'll get like human animal hybrid. That's pretty good. And then we'll also use alien. Yeah, because it's never been on the planet before. I guess that makes it an alien. Oh my God. Oh my God, Alex.
Gestate it usually in a cow, but they grow other animal human hybrids, pig human hybrids, you name it, inside cows. Those cows are generally being given anti-rejection drugs, or themselves are part human, so that they can then not reject the humanoid they're growing up inside of it. And I remember 25 years ago seeing like MIT reports on it. And then even 5 years ago, they had articles, human animal hybrids are gestating or in utero on farms across the U.S. That's a real headline. And it just admits there's thousands of these clones. And I've talked to some people that have worked in biomedical areas that have been involved in it, including University of Texas. And one time I was actually given a little tour, and I was off records. I can't get into all of it, but I was able to see some of these.
A little tour
over CCTV at a facility out in Bastrop from UT. downtown. I was able to walk.
Oh yeah. No, he talks about Elon later, and it's so fun. Well, I'm gonna spoil it here, but you'll have to watch the rest of the. You'll have to watch more of the this video to find out what he says there. Oh my god, I almost gave away the game. He says something about Elon Musk and those human animal hybrids.
It was a DARPA program. That was about 23 years ago.
No spoilers.
Human animal apes. That they're using for medical experiments. And they admit that's going on. It's in the National Academy of Sciences and in the NIH and all that's going on. And so, but here's the deal. I'm talking about it. It's like I'm talking about Mars because it sounds crazy. But,
you know, I don't think it actually sounds that fucking crazy. Mm-hmm. I think it sounds out of what we'd think would be acceptable. But then you look throughout history. Well, that's
it. It's all segregated away where you don't see it.
Yeah, you think of so many experiments throughout history. You think of so many surgeries that we have now that we deem as important in a routine that were born out of the Nazi experiments. And you think of, you know, so much crazy shit that goes on. It's not actually that unbelievable. It's wild, but it's not that unbelievable.
Exactly. And what's frustrating to me is 99% of what I cover is open source and not debatable. And then they'll just lie and say I'm making it up. But I mean, that's really going on. I mean, in the last week, they had the Washington Post, the New York Times, Bloomberg, the Financial Times in London all say it's time to have dictators. Freedom isn't good.
Oh, I thought he was going to say something else. I heard dick.
It's time to be in a tyranny.
I thought he was going to say...
These are headlines saying this.
I thought he was going to say something about, like, transplanting, like, horse. Like, you know, something that would make Vosh very happy. Into humans.
That it's time to have a dictator. This is what the Davos group and the globalists are selling.
They're all about that shit.
I just have another question about the animal.
Well, like, fuck Davos, but, like, are they...
What level of... This is almost my morbid curiosity. I'm going to a dark place right now. What level of consciousness did they have that they are an experiment? Did they have, like, animal intelligence? Did they have human intelligence? Somewhere in between? Do you even know? How much can you say?
Well, if you
do you even know anything about what you're talking about? Probably not. Did you read
that runs thing? It's mad scientist.
Did you read more than the first sentence of the abstract? Probably not.
There are thousands of admitted projects in the U.S. that have happened. Thousands in China. Ones I've seen in like financial reports out of Costa Rica, South Korea, just everywhere. So
and don't forget your thought, but I've seen a lot of like.
Oh, I love how she interrupts.
Like, when the government would operate on
this bitch knows she has the power.
Retarded children.
Oh, absolutely. You've had all the secret medical experiments and Tuskegee, but I mean, you were asking how far along it is. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know that 23 years ago or so, I saw a CBS News article about a military base in upstate New York that had spider goats on it. So I was my own producer then. So
Spider goats.
Spider goats. So
I call the name of the guy in the
Spider
thing.
Goats.
I'll come on your show.
Spider goats.
We create body armor.
They swing on a web. They butt you with their head. They're spider goats. Spider goats.
Broke loose. He got in a bunch of trouble for talking to me, but he'd been in CBS News. I have had people after that happened walk to me on the street and go, "You're a liar. We can't splice goats and spiders." Well, since then, there's thousands of articles admitting spider goats. Anybody can type in spider goats. You'll get articles going back, 20 years. The point is that they kind of report it to see what we do and then kind of pull back. And so that's my point is
so it's like a trial balloon.
20-something years ago, they had spiders.
They were like, hey, America, spider goats? No? Okay, we'll put them away.
Whose udders were basically
Hey, America. Human pig hybrids? No? Okay. Hey, Americans. Real life goblin mode with goblin DNA? That one we like.
Spider spinneret.
I think we've adopted.
The goat looks like a goat, but the
I think we've adopted the goblin DNA, chat.
Spinneret deal.
Holy
I think we like goblins. Goblins are here to stay.
It's not even debatable. That's 20-something
Goblins are here to stay, and I'm all for it.
The head of the project.
I, for one, welcome our new... Listen.
It's just insane. Like
I, for one, welcome our new goblin overlord queen bitch.
I had the head of Harp on like 25 years ago, because back then I wasn't a big show, so I could just call and get people on. I'm like, oh, yeah, come on, tell us about Harp. He's the top scientist. He comes on. There's an Air Force colonel on the line. In case anything's classified, they kill the interview in 20 minutes. And cut the guy off. He's like, well, yeah, Harp can't ignite the atmosphere. We can't control the weather. And like, that's a real interview with the real head of heart. That really happened. So much of what I've done has just been really open source.
Well, you know, of all the shit that you talk about, I think that the animal-human hybrids are actually probably one of the more believable things that you talk about.
One of the less like wild things you talk about.
Common sense. It's one of those things people almost wonder, like, it's one of those questions you ask as like a 5-year-old, like, can a dog and a cat have a baby? It's like a very kind of juvenile. Of course, there are scientists that fuck with that and try to make it happen.
Well, exactly. They're called chimeras. It goes back to the Greeks because they mythically said there were these, part man, part horse.
It goes back to the Greeks.
Mermaid.
I mean,
whether that ever existed or not, it does now.
Mermaids exist now.
Oh, they've definitely tried to splice humans with fish. I mean, they've done it all at the embryonic level. It's not debatable. Type in humans spliced with fish in genetic cloning test, and there's articles. Humans spliced with insects. Did you know, as of last year,
humans spliced with...
There's already GMO salmon.
Humans spliced with artificial intelligence?
I mean, that's part insect and part mammal.
Oh, that's so hot.
It's twice as big as regular salmon. Being sold on store shelves without telling you.
Yes.
Wow.
Give me my insect salmon.
I mean, we genetically modified 90% of our fucking food. Why wouldn't we? It makes sense to me. Extraterrestrials, though. Sounds like a basic bitch question, but Area 51. What do you know? What do you know?
What's up with that, Alex?
51 is
do you live there?
Works, Black Ops, secret aircraft facility, space plane facility, and they've also stored a lot of toxic waste there.
That's what I would assume. So is it more of a convenient kind of government narrative almost that they have alien shit there, or is that real?
You know, I know people that have worked there. They didn't tell me all the details, but it's come out in congressional hearings that it's basically a giant toxic waste dump. And then they've got some of the older generation spy planes there. But they've
wait, it's a toxic waste dump? Do they have the toxic waste that makes the frogs gay?
That have a really advanced spacecraft and things.
Spacecraft from us?
Us, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, because you don't want to just Elon Musk, big heavy lifter into orbit. They have these space planes that are very elegant. That take off from the ground, go into space.
Okay.
And then come back down.
Is that for VIPs?
Mainly
is that only for friends of a Podesta?
Payloads on them. They don't really carry hydrogen bombs because that has atmospheric issues. But a meteor gun into a gravity well is what you want. It's a
meteor gun into a gravity well. Of course. Why didn't I think of that?
Sabo of depleted uranium. With a
Sabo
system on the back.
Fucking Sabo?
By the time it comes,
chat, what the fuck is a Sabo?
Off, but it's very precision.
I don't know, but I want to use one.
A mile and a half under a mountain.
Use a Sabo
with a 100-pound DU Sabo. And so it's a planetary decapitation weapon.
Yeah, we got to use that Sabo.
Where in a couple hours, the people that run our country could kill all leaders of the world, no matter where they're at.
With a Sabo?
Bunker busting DU Sabo.
What the fuck is a Sabo?
Well, that's pretty fucking terrifying.
And that accidentally was declassified. I interviewed the former head of the Star Wars program.
Wait, that's missile defense. What are you talking about?
The point was that
a gazebo?
It accidentally declassified.
He said Sabo. I don't even know what that is. That's like a it's like a name in
extraterrestrials, though. Do you have strong opinions on that or no?
I mean, we are creating animal-human hybrids that aren't of this world, so they're aliens.
They're basically aliens. So yeah, there's your aliens. Look. Mom, can we get an alien? And Mom is Alex Jones, and Mom says, we've got an alien at home. And you get home, like alien at home, it's a human pig hybrid. It's like, that's not an alien.
My computer.
Mom. I wanted an alien, a real alien, like Roger from American Dad.
The aliens send to the radio telescope a code of a DNA sequence, and then the humans put it together here, but it's an alien. So did it land in a flying saucer, or
this guy should have written science fiction.
There
honestly,
are thousands and thousands of known aliens.
Why isn't he a science fiction writer?
Life forms that didn't even come from plant or animal life that's literally digitally made that replicates and that they're trying to give it intelligence that is taking place. And generally the whole flying saucer UFO thing, I think, is a distraction. Clearly,
Alf, but all you got was a spider goat. I know. What the fuck, Mom?
And there is
God, why is Alex Jones my mom?
Of interdimensional entities that are communicating with us that we could definitely list as.
Does that mean Blaire White is my dad?
Yeah, I would actually agree that UFOs are a distraction.
How does that work?
Only because the government, it was mostly like in 2020, part of 2021, where the government was suddenly being very open about UFOs that they in a way they never were before, and talking about it and declassifying things. And I thought, okay, well, that kind of actually ruins the idea that it's real aliens, because I don't think the government would actually tell us. So what was the purpose for that? Like, what was the reason why they were suddenly being so open about UFOs?
You've got the deep state, the permanent state, just toying with people and getting them ready for more advanced technologies that have been rolled out, where they want to do an operation.
They're getting us ready? Are they edging us?
Blue beams, what it's called.
Are we getting edged?
Poses aliens to try
blue
to
beam?
unify the
What is
Earth.
blue
They're going
beams?
to go along with what they want. You know, they'll use viruses to unify us and take control of us. They'll use the threat of alien invasion to do it. But when you see these videos of a drone pulling up over an aircraft carrier, then zooming back off, clearly that's most of that's human technology that they're just attributing to aliens.
Did you see COVID coming? Like, or more specifically, not just the idea of a virus or a pandemic, because I think anyone can kind of say, like, yeah, every 100 years we kind of have a thing, but the government's reaction to it, and then the people's willingness to lock down, do forced vaccines, masks, all that, because that is unprecedented. I had a conversation with Joey's grandma, who's in her 90s, and she worked for the CIA for many years. And I asked her, I was like, have you ever seen anything like this? Because, you know, she's in her 90s. She's seen a lot more than I will. And she said, no, this is completely unprecedented. So did you see it coming?
I mean, I did. You know, there's a lot of viral clips out there of us 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago.
Discovering this stuff, really. We're like the pioneers.
They're going to make us wear masks. They're going to track everywhere we go. They're going to use us to bring in a global digital currency and a social credit score, and using the vaccine passport to track and control, and introduce the idea of these climate lockdowns. And that's because it's all in the Operation Lockstep.
So the goal is climate lockdowns.
Total control, yes, feudalism. Operation Lockstep, 2011, Rockefeller Foundation. And then there's the SPARS report. There's Event 201 report. There's the Crimson Contagion, where these governments and corporations do these drills that were basically the model of what they did 2 years ago.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, I never would have guessed that people would be so willing to lock down because of a pandemic. I mean, so the idea of climate lockdowns, it's like, maybe before that I'd have been like, no, that's completely ridiculous. But now I'm like, well, actually, I think that if the government and CNN and all these corporate press outlets run enough fear, I think people would lock down because of climate. I think it's entirely possible.
And now they say they want the climate lockdowns, and then you weren't supposed to question alternative treatments that were being suppressed. You weren't supposed to question how lockdowns would cause mass starvation. You weren't. It was all a big exercise in censorship too, to see if they could get away with a global pandemic that will depopulate people. So what we just saw was a real virus cooked up in a lab, released, and the so-called gene therapy vaccine. But what they're planning next, all the evidence points towards, is something much more devastating, much more serious.
Right. Do you think that it's actually over, or do you think that when it's politically convenient, they'll bring all that shit back? Not the actual virus.
When it's politically, exactly.
Wait, the virus? You think that the virus is gone, Blaire?
They backed off, but
Blaire,
in China, in places where they had control, it gets even more intense.
Oh yeah, it's back there. The crazy videos of them killing the dogs and
cats, and the people locked up by the 400 million of them. This is all an exercise in martial law, and it's economic war, because you can't get the Chinese to stop working. But if you just lock them all in their houses in their major industrial cities, that's going to hurt the West.
Have you seen the video of it's like a skyline view of the city and all these apartment buildings in China, and people just screaming in their apartments?
And it's real.
Yeah. But what do you think, just based on everything that's happened?
I keep on hearing it sounds like a snore.
Americans will tolerate that again? Or do you think that Americans will say, actually went through that, fuck that? What do you think?
Thomas Jefferson was once asked, what is the level of tyranny that people will live under? And he said, the level you accept. Because even if you have a bad tyrant, but they're not that bad, they're going to die. They're going to get replaced by somebody worse. So if people don't stand up to tyranny, there's always going to be something worse, and it just creates an acceleration until you've just got a nightmare scenario.
Well, it's also like, you know, people talk about how every generation has a new fight, and I feel like that's this generation too. Like, there's always a new threat to people's quality of life, people's freedom.
Blaire, that's a great point. We think of the big threat as Hitler 80 years ago, or we think of it as Lenin or Stalin or Mao.
You never look at now.
Definitely Lenin.
Never look at now. And now it's not tanks and airplanes. It's inflation, and it's lockdowns, and it's surveillance robots and drones, and it's replacing humans with AI. And that's the new threat. And people better wake up. They better start valuing human life again. And banding together is like a human union, not even for better pay or whatever work, but a human,
like an international union of you, since you're so big on the populism, Alex, wouldn't you say like a workers, like an international, some kind of a rising consciousness, something like that? Yeah, I don't know.
Union calling for dignity and taking care of each
Dude, he's gonna invent
other and you know, actually building a future. And that's what the globalists pose as liberals, is because that's what threatens them, is real liberalism, real renaissance.
They're the real liberals. They're the conservatives are the real liberals, after all.
It's really coming together, really being loving, really building a real social safety net that means we don't let people be lazy, but we also help poor people, and we empower people, and we have healthy competition, not this divide and conquer thing we have now.
I'm pretty pessimistic by nature usually.
It's so weird to hear so much of the conservative movement acting like they're totally open to like social democracy. That's what he just said. He's like, yeah, social democracy be pretty cool, but like as long as we got like, you know, control of this transgender thing and all this craziness and alphabet soup people and all, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, as long as we can oppress as many groups as possible, like we're totally willing to take social democracy now. They've completely shifted their focus.
But lately I actually feel like, and we may agree or disagree about what the actual fight is and the overarching,
his brain is sleeping,
what we're trying to achieve, but I think things are actually looking quite up. I'm pretty white-pilled lately. I'm pretty like, actually, I think people are getting sick of having their lives restricted. I think people are starting to look above the paradigm of left and right. Not everyone, but I think that it's not about a numbers game. I think if a sizable amount of people are fighting against globalists and fighting against the corporate press, then we don't need over half. I think we just need a good like quarter.
Blaire, I totally agree with that. What you said is 100%.
What she said is like, we can do this anti-democratically. We can do this even if most people aren't along for the ride, as long as we have the guns and we're not afraid to use them. We can cow the rest of the population into going along with our bullshit program, because we can just say, hey, most of you aren't gay, most of you aren't immigrants, most of you aren't, you know, trans.
True. And I mean, I can't say it any better. Humanity has a hunger for freedom, a hunger for coming together.
Oh, we're back to the hunger, just like Contra.
And it's not going to be stopped. And the whole power.
What do you think, chat? What do you think?
Control.
What is Alex Jones's drug?
All of these cult-like.
Is he into the void or is he into the hype?
And social distancing and inoculations and masks, and all of this is a desperate sign of them.
All of this stuff trying to save like human lives, mostly like older people, you know, like, you know, people your age and above, Alex, right? I mean, I don't know, like but you're like, no, dude, you know what the thing about COVID was, that like more people should have died. Oh my God.
There
you go. That fucking genius, this guy.
It's not going to work.
So you're hopeful.
Genius.
You're feeling good about it.
I think I am white-pilled. You know, it's going to be hard for those of us who are the tip of the spear, who are up front, because we're going to get attacked. We're going to, you know, be made an example of. But if we just step into that office and realize that's our job, and at the end of the day, things are going to be a lot better. If we do the right thing, then it's a good thing.
How do you want to be remembered?
I mean, I want to be remembered
Blaire,
as somebody that challenged.
How do you want to be remembered? Because right now, you're not looking so good in the history book, Blaire. You're not looking so good.
The status quo, and somebody that legitimately tried to empower humanity, and somebody that wasn't scared to call it like I saw it, you know, to call it like you see it, and that sometimes I'm wrong, but most of the time I'm right, and that I'm just a real populist, and I'm pro-human, and I really believe in our species, and I don't get mad when I see somebody else being successful, because that is a collective.
Even if I consider their lifestyle to be an abomination upon this earth. Oh my God.
Humans. And I just really
want to be
remembered as the guy that helps everybody override this eugenics, depopulation, AI, post-human world of the transhumanist, and that we actually have the real empowerment of humans to go to the next level.
What is the next level? Wait. No transhumanism. We're going to go to the next level instead. What?
godfather.
What is his next level?
A lot of these political.
Oh my God,
commentators
fascism.
around now. I feel like you.
Is it fascism? I think it's fascism.
The idea of taking to the internet, speaking your fucking mind, and now it's almost like you have a bunch of like kids around, like these commentators that are doing your thing now, and they're still on social media. Maybe they will or won't get banned, but I think that, you know, whatever people have to say about you, I think that you started a movement that a lot of people are taking the best from, maybe not the worst from, and they're continuing your fight. Do you feel like that? Do you see other people?
Well, I'm honored you say that, and I mean, I do think that I was part of the wave before this current huge wave of the vanguard of people questioning. There were a lot of folks before me, but yes, I was able to use any outlet I could to warn people. And so I'm seen as a trailblazer because of that. But they say that necessity is the mother of invention. And yeah, I mean, I've definitely been decoding the deep state, the permanent state, the globalist agenda. And so regardless of whether I'm right all the time or wrong part of the time, that's not debatable. It's true. It doesn't matter. Overall, I'm pointing out the power structure and the fact that it is out of control, and the fact that it has unlimited.
I would say that the power structure, Alex, did you not exist? Were you to not exist, would have to create you. That's how useful you are to distracting people from the actual power structure. That is how useful you are at distracting people from the fundamental contradictions of our system, right? You got them worried about fucking human animal hybrids, and they should be worried. You got them distracted with this like populism garbage, and they're thinking like, you know, if we could just get Elon to buy Twitter, right, then everything will be nice. No. You're a distraction. You're really useful. You're really fucking, guys like you are really fucking useful to the actual establishment, Alex.
Money, unlimited resources, and is using behavioral psychology to dominate and dumb people down.
And that's not me fed jacketing him.
Inept. And
Chat,
in itself,
that's him fed jacketing himself.
Is losing. And so the more it doubles down to control us, the more it loses its grip, the more it doubles down. And that really endangers humanity because they've got a lot of powerful technology and weapons. And they need to just turn loose and realize that they have failed and that they are their own worst enemy, and just let humanity come back together, create a real consensus of what's best for our species through free will, and move forward with that.
You know, I think that we'll wrap this up now, but I think that just the fact that the regime goes as hard as they do against you kind of speaks for itself. Because if you were just out here spouting a bunch of bullshit and you weren't right about at least a significant amount of the things that you talk about.
Like, citation motherfucking needed, Blaire. What arm of the government has impacted Alex Jones, like, unduly? He's getting treated like...
I don't think they would try to ruin
anybody else.
That's my personal opinion.
Like, what, he had a civil trial go massively south when he didn't, like, do the basics of, like, you know... The stuff that you're supposed to provide to the court.
That we're sitting across from each other. People can be upset that we're friends. They'll always find something to be mad.
But you want to say it's like some big fucking... No, it was like Obama. Obama ordered it. Biden ordered it, right? Kamala ordered it.
Regret.